Hey, 2020 sucks. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite albums. And in the midst of all the tragedies around the world right now, I still want to make this list, and that is the top 100 favorite albums of the decade. And of course, we have a crap ton of honorable mentions, so without further ado, let's start off with The Caretaker. I didn't talk about this album at all in my channel, but it's this really depressing, distorted jazz sample-based album. Neon Indian needs to be mentioned as well. Also, I need to mention SZA, Autechre, Playboi Carti's Die Lit is actually a really good album. JPEGMAFIA, of course, with veteran Converge. Sturgill Simpson, and come on, Grammy winner Billie Eilish, gotta mention her. Pusha-T is also a really impressive rapper, gotta mention him. Also impressive Denzel Curry and Noname, and then Lana Del Rey, Anderson .Paak, who is really talented, and just as talented would be St. Vincent, and also C418 with Minecraft Volume Alpha. I'm a gamer. Yazz Ahmed needs to be mentioned, a British Bahraini jazz musician, and then slowthai, Haru Nemuri, Alvvays, Kero Bonito, and Earl Sweatshirt with some rap songs, Joey Badass with his conscious rap, and Uncommon NASA with the abstract rap, Blood Orange and Alabama Shakes, Oxbow with the chamber rock, and Oneotrix Point Never. And then it's the noisy and violent street sects and Judas Priest's very impressive comeback, Jay-Z, of course, and the Mountain Goats. And of course, Portal and Quelle Chris. Then it's Zealand Ardor, a Swiss American with the fusion between, I guess, soul and death metal, and Hermit and the Recluse, Kari Pamu Pamu. I have to mention her, da 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 in beta, and Leviathan, Injury Reserve. Bangers. And of course, 21 Pilots with the very catchy concept album Trench, High on Fire with the really solid Luminiferous. Subtract, self-titled album needs to be mentioned. Soap and Skin's set of gorgeous ballads on Narrow, The Comet is Coming with the very impressive, flashy jazz fusion album Trust in the Life Force of the Deep Mystery, and Prurient's Frozen Niagara Falls if you want to listen to some noisy, drony, ear-grinding music. And The Highwoman with a very soulful and empowering country album that is self-titled, and Joanna Newsom's very gorgeous and saddening breakup album on Have One on Me. And Bad Bad Not Good's very slick and smart instrumental sophomore album. And Converge, I have mentioned this album already. Let's move over to Aut with Sun Coming Down, which is a very eccentric post-punk album, and James Blake's wintry art pop self-titled album. And then we have Spiritualized with Sweetheart Sweet Light, and Chelsea Wolfe's really dark and bitter Abyss, OC's freaky and crazy and wild Orc, and Nails with a hell of a tight death metal album, You Will Never Be One of Us, and Daft Punk pays homage to the roots of their roots on Random Access Memories, and Janelle Monáe fusing between rock and pop and a bit of hip-hop on The Arch Android, and Beyonce showing her sass but also her personal side on Lemonade, and Destroyer with the very poetic lyrics and beautiful instrumentals on Poison Season, and at the end we have The Silver Mount Zion with Fuck Off, Get Free, We Pour Light on Everything, which is a really unique, epic post-rock album that has many layers of organic instrumentals, and it's just candy to the ears. So we have the top 100. I really spent a lot of time making this list, making sure that every entry deserves its spot, and at number 100 we have Gorguts with Colored Sands, a really impressive comeback for the band, a really cohesive death metal album with violent riffs and amazing performances. And at 99, Charlie XCX goes from 1999 to 2099 on Charlie, which is a really catchy, loud, unapologetic, futuristic pop album. And then at 98 with Ana Frango Elétrico from Brazil with Little Electric Chicken Heart, another really laid back, beautiful, fun little indie pop rock album. And then at 97, gotta give it to My Bloody Valentine's comeback album, MBV. And even though it's a little more mellow, it's still very dreamy and nostalgic, and I just love the shoegaze style. And at 96, I'm giving it to the very depressing Purple Mountain self-titled album, rest in peace David Berman, and every single track here is moving, saddening, tragic, heartbreaking. And at 95, one of the classiest albums of the decade, and that is Timber Timber's Hot Dreams, from a very beautiful, heartwarming ballad to some noir rock. Yeah. And then at 94, Tame Impala with Currents, where Tame Impala brings us to a very dreamy, beautiful, nostalgic state of mind where everything's just melting and very colorful in a very colorful way. And at number 93, I am giving it to Black Midi with Schlagenheim, a very eccentric, weird, freaky post-punk math rock album. And at number 92, I am giving it to Elder with Reflections of a Floating World, an incredibly epic and cinematic prog metal album that just launches you to the edge of the world. And at number 91, it is Crying with Beyond the Fleeting Gales, a really positive, uplifting, forward-thinking, and faithful pop rock jam of an album. And at number 90, I have to give it to Liars with Mess, a really freaky and kooky electronic slash art pop album with a lot of personality. And at number 89, we have Sons of Kemet with Your Queen is a Reptile, with a set of really exhilarating and exciting jazz pieces. And at number 88, we have Vampire Weekend with Contra, if you want to listen to some heartwarming, intimate, lovely, and really kind-hearted indie pop and indie rock music. And of course, following that at number 87, we have Deer Hunter with Halcyon Digest, also an indie rock album that is incredibly unique and innovative. I love the springy instrumentals and the muffled vocals. And then at number 86, it is Lightning Bolt with Sonic Citadel, which is an incredibly noisy punk rock album with pummeling drums and crazy wild guitars. And at number 85, I'm giving it to Neil Cicierega with Mouth Moods. Now, Neil is not necessarily a professional musician or an instrumentalist, but he is a friggin' genius and a comedian, because this album has to be the most impressive mashup album of the decade and maybe ever, because there are some songs on this album that are just mashed together in such a genius way. It actually makes sense and it's actually catchy. And then at number 94, we have Matmos with Plastic Anniversary, one of the most creative and innovative electronic duos of all times, come out with possibly their most creative project yet. And the Plastic Anniversary is an album completely made with plastic instruments, and yet the songs here, they are catchy, they're fun, and they're versatile. And at number 93, all the way from Colombia, and that is Kali Uchis with Isolation, which is an album with a set of tropical, exotic flavored pop music that is very catchy, danceable, sweet, and lovely. And then at 82, we have Dutch band that is Swain with The Long Dark Blue, a very stern and somewhat saddening, sort of lost, half grunge, half punk album. And at number 81, I am giving it to Deaf Heaven with Sunbather, a very epic and cinematic black metal slash shoegaze album, aka Black Gaze album, that just launches you to heaven because it's just so life affirming and large in scale. And then at number 80, I am giving it to Pup with Morbid Stuff, a really wild, youthful, and lively pop punk album that's just soaring with anger sometimes, and it's awesome. And at number 79, I am handing it over to Angel Olsen with My Woman, which is an indie pop rock album with a lot of personality, oozing with charisma. Some of the most gorgeous ballads here are actually very danceable as well. And then at 78, we have Weezer with another self-titled album that is the White Album, and Weezer really came back with full glory on this album, bringing back their good old sound with some really solid instrumentals, some really good convincing performances as well. And at number 77, it is a Shoo Shoo album. I'll probably forget Girl with Basket of Fruit and that Twin Peaks cover album all tied in one same spot. But if I have to pick one, it's gotta be Forget, which is this art pop album that is centered around underage prostitution. Yes, and this album is polarizing. It is freaky, it is weird, it is odd and crazy. There are some really downtrodden and dark moments, but then there are all these lighthearted and upbeat moments on this album as well, but they're all really weird and freaky in a creative way. Listen to it. And at number 76, we have the UK hardcore punk band Future of the Left with How to Stop Your Brain in an Accident, which is a really funny, freaky, crazy punk rock band with a lot of humor on this album and some really tight tracks and tight raw performances as well. And at 75, FK Twigs with LP1, which is a really artistic and experimental alternative R&B album with futuristic production from Arca and angelic vocals from FK Twigs herself. And at 74, Mariam the Believer brings a set of really beautiful and moving, but also at the same time danceable and catchy art pop songs on Blood Donation. And at 73, Battles Glass Drop. This album grows on you exponentially, and essentially we have this very colorful and vivid, but also calculated and mechanical math rock album. The drums on this thing are so tight, and the guitar riffs they're amazing as well. The sound play on this album it's sweet, it's fantastical. And at 72, we have Ab-Soul with Control System with its incredibly moody beats, really animated flows from Ab-Soul, and some really conscious lyrical topics. And at 71, probably one of the most important trap rap albums of all times, and that is Travis Scott's Rodeo. I just really love the grim, grimy, futuristic cyber production of this album, and Travis Scott really hits his creative peak on this album with its really interesting production choices. The beat switches, they're amazing. Anyways, at number 70, we have La Dispute with Wildlife, which is a post-hardcore album where every single track is just as cohesive and as solid, and most importantly, just as powerful and tragic. It's a really tragic album, dealt with a lot of mortality. And at number 69, we're at 69, ha 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 ha. Shabazz Palace's Black Up, if you're into some really weird, cacophonous, noisy, experimental hip-hop with some bass-boosted beats. And at 68, I'm giving it to Agaloch with Marrow of the Spirit, which is a very grim and depressing black metal album with some soaring instrumentals, and the thing is also somewhat folky and lively and emotional, which is really nice. And at 67, Arcade Fire with The Suburbs. I absolutely love this album. Arcade Fire is one of the first few bands that I've ever invested my time to in my life. And on this album, they bring a set of really catchy and memorable indie rock tracks that have a suburban flavor. The title track is fantastic. Sprawl 2 is a really uplifting, forward-thinking, danceable banger. And there are so many other tracks here like Ready to Start, which are amazing. And at number 66, another band that I have invested a lot of my time to since I was young, and that is Gorillaz with Plastic Beach. Gorillaz, really a virtual band, a really strange virtual band, because it's basically the members 2D, Noodle, Russell, and Murdoch, and they're all replaceable with a lot of different instrumentalists and different vocalists and different producers, and they all come together to this Plastic Beach album, which is a large album with a lot of eccentric, weird, but also very fun and strange and creative and unique pop and rock songs. We have some lovely sunshine songs like Up on Melancholy Hill. I'm just remembering the lyrics now. And then we have these groovy, harsh tracks like Stylo. The beat drop on Empire Ants melts my brain every time I listen to it. And we also have some goofy, funny tracks here as well. And then at number 65, I am giving it to Baroness with Purple, one of my favorite metal albums of the decade, where essentially they bring a set of really epic and triumphant metal albums, progressive metal mainly on this album, and in the middle we get a very groovy and moody instrumental, which is a really nice palate cleanser. But more importantly, the first three tracks here, they are just endless angry rage that is just very intergalactic, and I love it. And we have Touche Amore with Stage 4 at number 94, where it is another post-hardcore rock album, and it is extremely tragic and moving and powerful, where lyrically the band talks about a patient dealing with stage 4 cancer, and every single track brings as much saddening and also heartbreaking emotion. And at 93, gotta give it to Rosalia with El Mal Querer, now a Grammy winner as well. And Rosalia, she's a really talented singer. Her angelic vocals are fantastic, but on this album, instrumentally, she fuses contemporary flamenco with art pop, and the fusion is smooth. It is amazing. A set of amazing tracks here, nice hand clap beats as well. And at 62, if you want to party hard, we have Dope Body with Natural History, which is a very forward-thinking, uplifting, fun punk rock album with some freaky riffs. And at 61, I am giving it to D'Angelo and the Vanguard with Black Messiah. D'Angelo comes back extremely impressively with Black Messiah, which is this soul album that has some freaky here and there nuts and screws percussion, some wild but also lovely vocals as well, and just a really amazing comeback in general. Okay, so I guess I still have a bit of time, so I'm going to continue with number 60. We have Melt Banana with Fetch, a hardcore punk band from Japan, and this album has some really amazing, shimmery, bright, intense, hardcore punk instrumentals, crazy, wild, scratching guitar riffs, really quick, shouty, crazy vocals that are very cute as well. A lot of personality. Love it. And at 59, yes, everything with Get to Heaven, a very colorful and vivid and unique and also very eccentric pop rock album. It's tracks like Distant Past and Spring Sun Winter Dread that really makes me love this album. And at number 58 actually, we have the sophomore Run the Jewels album with some of the harshest mechanical industrial beats, really impressive bars and lyrics from both Killer Mike and LP, amazing production, angry performances, but also smart, funny moments on the album as well. It makes this album one of the best rap albums of the decade. And at 56, Godspeed You Black Emperor with Alleluia, Don't Bend, Ascend, which is a very unique and cinematic post-rock album. 2 post-rock giants, 2 ambient drones that are smaller tracks, but essentially they bring some of the most cinematic and out there post-rock music you can ever find. Mladic is a very menacing, raw, and just powerful track, one of my favorites of the decade. And to end off this video on a high point, of course, I mean, I'm talking about good albums, right? We have 56 with Wise Blood with Titanic Rising, which is this really beautiful, dreamy 70s throwback art pop album with some really beautiful, sort of washed and nostalgic instrumentals here, really beautiful pianos as well, amazing melodies that just puts you in a state of trance, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I'm gonna continue talking about my favorite albums tomorrow, top 55, and thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want more, and also stay healthy, wear masks and goggles when you leave your place.